Hi folks, and welcome to another Odd Artworks. I'm Ewan Moore, illustrator and artist, and I'm continuing with my artistic interpretation of D&D monsters. This week I'm going to have a go at what has become one of the most iconic monsters in D&D, the Beholder. So iconic that it's even on the cover of the book. Lots of people have been asking me to do a Beholder. This might be a tricky one. As best as I can tell, the Beholder is a uniquely created monster within D&D. It has been part of the game since its earliest versions from back in the 1970s, and though its core concept hasn't changed much, its design has evolved nicely over time. Alright, the description reads, one glance at a beholder is enough to assess its foul and otherworldly nature. A beholder's spheroid body is covered in chitinous plates, scales, or leathery flesh. Its great bulging eye sits above a wide toothy maw, while the smaller eye stalks that crown its body twist and turn to keep its foes in sight. A beholder channels extraordinary levels of magic power. Its central eye emits a broad field of energy that can nullify the magic of its foes, while its eye stalks blast those foes with a host of powerful effects. Okay, I really like the design of the beholder, so the changes I make will likely be minor, but I don't think I've ever painted anything like this before, so it might be tricky. Let's give it a go. Okay, so with this drawing, a couple of things I wanted to get away from were the sort of muscular ball of snot that some versions of the Beholder seem to show. I kind of much preferred the more gnarly, horned almost look of it, so that's what I went for. The other big change I decided I was going to make was the placement of the eye stalks, and it took me quite a while to figure this out. Just because the Beholder floats about, I kind of thought it would make perhaps more sense to have the eye stalks on the lower part of its head rather than coming out the top. Though it's not a major change, it's just what I went for. I also made the eye stalks a bit more, gross and fleshy, rather than, more tentacle-like. The other big thing was the composition. Since, as I said, the beholder floats about, I decided I wanted us to be really looking up at this thing, for it to be kind of the stuff of nightmares. As always, the drawing is really just a guide for me for the painting, so all I'm trying to do is get a sense of that character and try and solve maybe some problems I might have, like scales are still something I'm not super confident about, so if I'm going to put cracked skin or scales or things like that, I can try and figure out how to do them in the drawing. But really it's a dynamic composition, get my shading just about right, and then I'm fairly happy. So on the whole, I was fairly happy with this drawing overall. One of the other things I was really keen on getting right was that otherworldly quality, so that's why he's got quite gnarly, almost like deep sea fish like teeth, just to bring that kind of terrifying thing out in him. But yeah, there we go. Okay, having transferred the drawing to a board, I decide literally which areas I wanted to feel kind of warmer versus cooler. So I painted the warmer areas in a burnt sienna, just putting a wash down so I can sort of work out the values, make sure they work okay, and then moving in with some cool colours over areas I thought would be colder. And I'm using a blue for this. I haven't said this in any of the other videos, but my goal with these sort of paintings is to complete them in one session, and what that means is drawing, design, everything I tend to do over an afternoon, so the whole process is normally about 3 or 4 hours. If this was like a live commission or something like that, I would certainly spend longer. I'd probably do it over 2 or 3 sessions, just to refine details and things like that. But just to get a concept and a sketch, I feel like that's probably quite enough time with these monsters, and they are so much fun to do. I really can't stress how much fun I'm having doing all this. So yeah, one of the things I do with this underpainting is just try and solve a few problems, give myself a bit of a guide, know where the light and dark areas are, any pieces of detail I need to figure out. And yeah, I'm normally quite happy. Because the majority of this creature is quite cool, I'm underpainting the background with a pink, with the plan of going over the top of it with kind of a lightish blue, just to give it kind of a warmer feel. And there's that sort of bluey, I suppose it's like a bluey green really, coming in over the top. When it comes to colouring the beholder itself, in all the different versions, a lot of versions have it as this kind of horrible brownish kind of colour, which didn't really do much for me. One of the things I like about the 5th edition illustration is that kind of pink kind of look to it. I initially thought green, but yeah, Mike Wazowski from Monsters Inc. has a lot to answer for when it comes to designing beholders. So I went with a pink. I thought it held with that otherworldly look. I also started painting this at the bottom, which is normally not something that's advisable because you'll end up putting your hand all the way through it, but I just really want to get that dark kind of shadow underneath it to give it a bit more of a three-dimensional feel. This also allowed me to, pardon the pun, flesh out those eye stalks a little bit more and work on that gummy kind of moor that has those horrible spiky fish-like teeth in it. Yeah, the painting of this went relatively smoothly. I was quite pleased with the way it all went. I made use of both heavy body acrylics, soft body, kind of a bit more liquidy acrylics, and washes to achieve kind of that nice balance of kind of like a fleshy, leathery skin over, or underneath rather, kind of cracked, almost like plated armour that it wears on its face and on top of its head. I suppose everything I'm trying to do with this, I'm always trying to keep my end goal in mind, which is the sort of feel I'm going for with this creature based on its description. And words pop into my head from that description, like otherworldly, nightmarish, things like that. This is something that, if you encountered this, it would be terrifying, and that's what I'm trying to do, is sort of get that idea that this thing is, this could be your end when you run into this. Whereas at the same time, I'm also trying to give it a bit of character and quirkiness to sort of make it my own. I think going through the sort of monster illustrations in the current edition of the Monster Manual, I on the whole, I really love the way they're rendered. The art is all of a crazy high standard, but for me, a lot of them don't have a lot of character. They've sort of gone down this sort of bizarre realism route, which just isn't really my cup of tea, to be honest. If I think about my favourite renderings of art in D&D, it's sort of like the art of Tony DiTerlizzi and Wayne Reynolds and people like that. I really like their work because it's got a bit of life, a bit of quirkiness to it. Yeah, it might not be anatomically correct or realistic, but I don't know, I think it sells that idea of imagination and fantasy more than the realism of some art you see in the game. But yeah, alright, I don't have too much more to say about the paint of this. Like I said, it went fairly smoothly, there wasn't too many problems, so I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of the painting. Okay, that's the Beholder just about done. Just putting some final highlights on there and drool and important stuff like that. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a like, give it a thumbs up. Feel free to share it with anybody you like. Please subscribe to the channel. I put out a new video every Thursday. And let me know what you think in the comments below. Did I get the Beholder right? What would you do differently? And if there's any other monsters from the Monster Manual you want me to have a crack at, give me a shout. Alright then folks, I will see you next time. Take it easy. See you later.